excited to help present this year's graduation awards along with my fellow co-chair Madeline Nichols and Sophia Ramirez. We will be presenting the awards to this year's deserving faculty and student award winners, along with the last lecture delivered by our very own Professor DeSanto. After the last lecture, we will have a reception in the atrium. We look forward to announcing today's winners. Without further ado, I have the honor of presenting our Dean. Please join me in a warm welcome of Dean Harriet Sofsky.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2024 award ceremony and last lecture. And as we simply cannot do too many times this week, please join me in giving a huge congratulations to the class of 2024. I also want to thank the students who've led the graduation committee. In addition to the students here, Ashley Justice, Madeline Nichols, and Sophia Ramirez Buitron, I also want to thank Jasmine, Mehavani, Burton. All four of them have done such an incredible job planning this wonderful week of celebration for all of you, including today's award ceremony and last lecture, which will be given by Professor Jason DeSanto immediately following the awards. Can we just give them a big thank you? We also all owe an enormous thank you to the so many members of the law school staff team who worked to organize today's event. So if we can thank the student services team, marketing and strategic communications team, and AV team for their important work, and also Compass Catering that provided the food and drink we're enjoying today. Can we just say a big thank you to all of them as well? And before we proceed to talking a little bit about the awards and last lecture, I also just wanted to recognize and thank this year's graduating class gift committee, which is comprised of 27 graduating students from all of our degree programs and who have volunteered to strategically plan, promote, and fundraise from their fellow classmates, which isn't always the easiest thing in the world, right? And 250 graduating students so far have participated and have raised a record-breaking $17,000, which is the largest graduating class gift ever, right? So let's give a huge thank you to them. And importantly, each student donor had the opportunity to designate the specific program or scholarship or clinic that should benefit from their donation, recognizing that philanthropy is how we express our values, right? And through their giving, what the class of 2024 has done is already, they've made such an impact here at the law school, but through their philanthropy are making a difference in our students' lives and in the law school generations to come. So we're just so grateful to the class of 2024, class gift committee members, and everyone who gave to this class gift. As you know, and we're going to say over and over again, this week is a celebration of you and your accomplishments during your time here. And it's also a chance for your loved ones to participate in that. So one of the things that's so exciting, and I just want to thank and welcome, because I'm seeing so many loved ones here in the audience today, all the people who have supported our students through their journeys and are here to celebrate with them. And we're going to thank them at graduation, but let's thank the loved ones who are here today as well. So one of our time-honored year-end traditions here at Northwestern Pritzker School of Law is for members of our graduating class to both recognize their peers and select faculty members with graduation awards. And so this afternoon, we're going to recognize the students and faculty members who won these awards, who are selected from an amazing list of nominees. So I think it's actually important for us to congratulate and thank all of those who were nominated, in addition to the ones who will be individually recognized here today. I'm really just grateful to each and every one of you for the difference that you've made in our law school community. While our students will also be formally introducing Professor DeSanto in the last lecture following the award ceremony, I also wanted to congratulate and thank him for delivering these graduating students their last lecture at the law school. This is a time-honored tradition where each year the graduating class selects a faculty member to give the last lecture. So the class of 2024 voted for Professor DeSanto, and I'm very confident that the class is going to enjoy his last lecture to them. So in closing, I want us to again congratulate the class of 2024. We're so grateful for all you've contributed during your time here at the law school. We're excited for your next steps from here and the difference you're all going to make. And we look forward to recognizing each of you individually at convocation on Friday at the Chicago Theater. So now, it's my great pleasure to turn it back over to the members of the graduation committee to present the awards.
Again, so much for joining us. We just again want to congratulate all the parents, family, and support systems in the room. Congratulations, and thank you again for supporting. We'll start with the first award. So the first award is the Outstanding Adjunct Professor. The Outstanding Adjunct Professor Award honors the teaching excellence of an adjunct faculty member. Congratulations to this year's winner, the Honorable Michael Y. Scudder.
Up next is the Outstanding First Year Course Professor Award. It was established in 1996 to honor the teaching excellence of faculty members who teach a first-year mandatory course. Congratulations to this year's winner, Professor Emily Cadence.
The Outstanding Professor of a Small Class Award was established to honor the teaching excellence of faculty members who teach classes of limited size. Congratulations to this year's winner, Professor Deborah Turkheimer.
The Robert R. Wooton Award for Teaching Excellence in the LLM Tax Program honors the teaching excellence of a faculty in the area of tax law. Congratulations to this year's winner, Professor Rebecca Rosenberg.
Outstanding Residential Professor honors the teaching excellence of a faculty member teaching in the Master of Science in Law's residential format. Congratulations to this year's winner, Professor Jeffrey Sheely Carter-Johnson.
The MSL Outstanding Online Professor honors the teaching excellence of a faculty member teaching in the Master of Science in Law's online program. Congratulations to this year's winner, Professor Janice Nadler.
And lastly, it is my great privilege to recognize the winner of the Robert Childress Memorial Award for Teaching Excellence. The Childress Award was established in honor of Professor Robert Childress. The award is presented annually to the faculty member selected by the student body as the year's most outstanding teacher. Congratulations to this year's winner, Professor Wendy Mutchman.
the Student Awards. The Courage Award is presented to the student who has shown the greatest courage in surmounting obstacles and barriers to entering, remaining in, or completing his or her education. Congratulations to this year's winner, Yasmin Ilaga.
Profession Award is presented to the LLM student who has most exemplified standards of professionalism and has made the greatest contribution to the global legal profession through sharing professional knowledge, engaging in experiential opportunities, and building global legal networks. Congratulations to this year's winner, Ricardo Martinez Gonzalez.
The Leadership Award is given to the student who has made the greatest contributions to leadership in the student community. Congratulations to this year's winner, Ariel Dickerman Whitmore.
Award is presented to the student who has made the greatest contribution to professional responsibility and to the practice of law. Congratulations to this year's winner, Anne Serene Gutchuk.
The Lee Bennon Award is awarded to the student who has demonstrated excellence in writing and research and intelligence and originality in the approach to the topic in a student note or comment in the Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology. Congratulations to this year's winner, Annalise Brellis.
Prizes recognize students who produce outstanding written contributions to each Northwestern Pritzker Law Journal. Congratulations to this year's winners. For the Northwestern Law Journal de Refusé, Chelsea Hannah Blake.
For the Journal of Technology and Intellectual Property, Joshua Bernard Concannon.
For Northwestern University Law Review, Elijah Nathan Gelman.
For the Journal of Law and Social Policy, Yuri Nam.
For the Journal of Human Rights, Lisabel Anahid Panosian.
Journal of International Law and Business, Christopher Regan Rodenbaugh.
For the Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology, Carl Salvatore Steyer.
The MSL Residential Student Award is given to the graduating residential MSL student who, through their impact on the program and the world, best exemplifies the innovative spirit of the MSL program. Congratulations to this year's winner, Jin Chang Song.
The MSL Online Student Award is given to the graduating online student who, through their impact on the program and the world, best exemplifies the innovative spirit of the MSL program. Congratulations to this year's winner, Christine Marie Mayer.
The Service Award is given to the student who has shown the greatest dedication and commitment to public service in the practice of law. Congratulations to this year's winner, Zainab Bahit.
The Victor Rosenblum Award is given to the LLM student who has done the most to uphold the traditions of the law school. Congratulations to this year's winner, Catalina Saravia.
The Wigmore Key is presented to the student who has done the most to uphold the traditions of the law school. Congratulations to this year's winner, Caitlin Elizabeth Richardson.
Congratulations again to all of our student winners. I now have the pleasure of introducing our last lecture speaker, Professor Jason DeSanto. He teaches, Professor DeSanto teaches courses at the intersection of law and public policy, public advocacy, including First Amendment law, and has pioneered the law school's curriculum geared towards preparing lawyers as impactful public persuaders, particularly in the worlds of policymaking and entrepreneurship. He has also served for more than 15 years as a political speechwriter and debate strategist, having assisted U.S. senators, members of Congress, and multiple American presidential campaigns. He provides public speaking coaching, media training, and communication strategy to C-suite executives at a series of Fortune 500 companies and not-for-profit entities, and has advised prevailing counsel in U.S. Supreme Court litigation. Welcome, Professor DeSanto.
Mostly, I'm just happy to be here. For real. Thank you so much. First of all, congratulations to all the award winners and everybody who was nominated. Fabulous. And I am so grateful to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. Once upon a time, you had a dream to go to law school. And you worked and worked and worked. And I've had the good fortune to meet many of you, and I am better for it and I'm privileged to be here with you today. And also, for some of you with your family and friends, which is fantastic, you persevered, they cheered you on, you were occasionally insane, they pretended not to notice. So let's give them a hand too. Now, graduates, when I asked a few of you for input about what to address today, the questions I heard most often were, was it worth it? Does law school really prepare you to be a lawyer? And will that be satisfying? Now, the cynic might say that perhaps those were questions better asked before coming to law school. But we're not cynical. We're lawyers. And we take the questions where we find them. And the questions are right here. And here is what today is really all about. It's celebrating the stories that allowed you to get here. They're the stories you've written for yourself and the stories that you've written together. And I believe it's these stories which will provide happy answers to the questions you've asked and will also allow me to leave you with what I think is the most important message as you leave today. Own your career and live life because you are crucial. Own your career and live life because you are crucial. And we're going to explore what that means over the next 3 hours. Here we go. Okay, so law school being law school, I'm going to start with a hypothetical. Assume that we're all going to be gathered together on Friday in a beautiful room for your graduation. And you'll hear your name, and we will cheer for you. And in a couple of weeks, you will actually receive your official law school diploma. Then, assume it's a few years down the road, and that diploma is still with you. But now it's hanging on the wall of your office, and there's no one cheering. It's late at night, and it's just you alone. It's been a long, tough day at the end of a whole string of long, tough days. Now, here's the question. If you happen to glance up right at that moment and see that diploma right then, will it mean the same thing then that it means now in this time of celebration? To answer that question, as lawyers today, I want to examine who we are, what we're about to face, and maybe the way forward. So let's start with who we are. And to answer the question of who we are, I'd like you to think a little bit about the things in life that reveal us to other people. As I was preparing for today, I spent some time in the Northwestern Archives. There's a wonderful guy there. His name is Kevin Leonard. He's been up there for years. He's the archivist, and he has a real joy for his job. And I asked him once why that was, and I'll never forget what he told me. He said, if you look around here, if you look at all these objects, these artifacts, the diplomas, the papers, the programs, the drawings, all of those artifacts tell stories. I've never forgotten it. And that observation has always made me think about what it is that we're all going to leave behind when we're gone. And what those objects, those artifacts, what stories those are going to tell about us and about who we are. The acclaimed psychologist Erik Erikson once noted that the big questions of life are about identity. Who am I, and how do I fit in? And as it is with individuals, so it is with entire cultures. Who are we, and how do we fit in with cultures past, present, and future? And it will be our story, revealed by the artifact, that will guide us and others to the answers. And that brings me back to your diploma. Because I believe it's not merely an accreditation, but it's an artifact, one that will tell a story about you. Now, the truth, of course, is that on Friday, you don't actually receive your diploma. That comes later, after the registrar has decided you officially graduate. Even to the end, the registrar holding your fate in her hands. It's chilling. But it doesn't make Friday any less important, just the opposite, I would say, because Friday is a ritual. And in all cultures, family, religious, civic, rituals have immense meaning. Just as surely as the artifacts that we leave behind, rituals reveal the things that we really believe in, that we hold dear, and that we value. Your diploma and your graduation, an artifact and a ritual. Symbols, I'd like to suggest, that tell a story about you as a lawyer-to-be, and maybe about this time and this place. But what is that story? What is it that lawyers are? Now, we could, of course, see ourselves as other people often view us. You know, lawyers as formalistic, hyper-technical, almost robotic. For instance, here's a picture of my two sons a few years ago, operating a good old-fashioned lemonade stand. Quaint, right? Sure. But what does the lawyer robot see? I'll tell you what he sees. Trouble. First, are these gentlemen organized in the optimal corporate form? Are they complying with federal child labor statutes? These cups are about to fall over. Workplace safety, anyone? And then, that smile. Clearly he knows something we don't, and the whole thing is probably a Ponzi scheme. And that, friends, is how you make lemons into lawmonade. Well, who are we kidding, really? There we go. That's better. Thank you. You have loans, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, but you're not a robot. That's not why you chose this profession. Think instead about your once upon a time and what that might tell us about what being a lawyer is all about. Now, I may have had one of these once upon a times back in kindergarten, and that story might be useful here. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I knew then that I was going to be a lawyer, but I may have shown it wouldn't be a bad path. And why is that? Well, first, let us go to the visual evidence. That's me in kindergarten. Look at that guy. This is obviously somebody with EOLD, early onset lawyer disorder. But take a little bit closer, my friends. Take a look behind the polka dots to the pain behind those eyes. Because there's a story that goes with this picture, and I think it's about law and lawyering. Once upon a time, there was a dot to dot. You remember dot to dots? You connect the dots and a picture becomes clear. Well, that day in kindergarten, our dot to dot was a sailboat. But I missed some dots. And when you miss dots in the dot to dot, you are running a perilous path indeed. That day for me, no dots, no sail. No sail, no sailboat. No sailboat, rowboat. Rowboat, failure. Now, I remember this. They didn't tell us it was supposed to be a sailboat, so when I looked at it, I thought it was great. Until I saw what everybody else had done, and mine was wrong. And I started to cry. Now, in that example, I think you can see maybe some roots of lawyering. Maybe you might identify a desire for being right, massive emotional instability. But a lawyer I became, and in fact, I think you'll see not much change at all. Okay, so I read way too much into this incident. The story is kind of apocryphal, but I am going to ask you to let the metaphor hold. Because I think at root, lawyering is really about connecting the dots. That's what I think it's really about. about synthesizing things. And learning how to do that, that's what you did here. How to take disparate elements like facts and legal authority and fuse them into some kind of order. We even have a name for it, right? Thinking like a lawyer. And as we individually create order, we do build a legal system that does the same thing. I mean, you have to admit, there is a relationship between law and order. Now that's important because the law satisfies a basic human need, a fundamental need for order, to make sense out of life's infinite possibilities, and really in ways that we no longer even notice. When we leave here today, we're all going to get buses and cars, and we're going to be on our way. We'll hit the corner, and then we're going to wonder for a minute about our duties and our obligations. Who goes first? Who has to wait? And the answer to that is going to be, of course, given to us by those, the stoplights, placed there by law. And even in that very small way, the law begins to connect the dots. It brings order out of chaos. Now, in our democratic tradition, order, of course, is not the entire goal, because we in this room believe not just in law, but in the rule of law, and promoting two really important values: individual freedom and community. Freedom, the ability to pursue your own dreams, to say and do as you wish. And community, the ability to come together and build together. It was that latter one that Aristotle identified centuries ago. Here's what Aristotle said: all these costume changes are making me tired. No, wait. That was Taylor Swift. Sorry. Folks, 16 costume changes in each show. 152 shows on the Eras Tour. That's 2,432 costume changes. And still, she endures. Probably forever. No, let's get back to Aristotle. Here's what Aristotle said: a social instinct is planted in everyone. Now, to us, there's nothing controversial about this connected view of the individual and the community, the sense of individual and humanity working together in a community. But of course, not every legal system honors it, like autocracies and dictatorships. Now, as much as we know that, it's during days like these, I will say especially days like these, that it is sometimes easy to miss the danger imminently posed by those very systems. Take the story about Levy Mayer Hall, this building, and the Northwestern University celebration exactly 100 years ago to mark its construction. Levy Mayer Hall, 100 years ago. That's a long time ago, right? 100 years. Wow. 100 years. That's a time before the TV and the computer. It's a time before we went to the moon. It's a time before academic credit for journals. Now, leading that celebration 1 century ago with a powerful group of alumni was the most legendary dean in Northwestern history, Dean John Wigmore. Now, as it turns out, the world-renowned scholar Wigmore had just returned from an extended trip to Europe. And while there, he had been championing the League of Nations and democracy around the globe. Now back at home, the night of the celebration, Wigmore revealed the drawings of what would become this building, predicting it would become a long, enduring symbol of our legal system. Finally, as he was concluding, Wigmore shared his observations from abroad, particularly of Italy. That's not Italy. That's Italy. He shared his observations of Italy, where Benito Mussolini had come to power just the year before. Wigmore emphasized how much time he had been able, fortunately, to spend in Italy. He cited Italy's improved economy, its reductions in crime. And then Dean John Wigmore, champion of human freedom and democracy, declared, "Fascism has saved Italy." It had not. Now, as a gentleman of Italian descent, I would like to say that Wigmore simply had been blinded by the Italian cuisine. Lest we forget the timeless legal axiom, ante judicium arapissing, before judgment comes pasta. You know, you can put almost anything into Google Translate. You really can, it's amazing. Now don't worry, Northwestern. Wigmore is still a paramount figure in American legal history. He really is. This legal maverick's high-flying experiences are still crucial to training young lawyers in their toughest missions today. In fact, Hollywood is making his big-budget biopic. Watch for it next summer, Top Gun Wigmore. But more to the point, and much more seriously, on a night designed to celebrate liberty under law, Wigmore missed it. He missed it. He missed the gravest threat to its actual existence. And the threat became reality, and the reality became a contagion. And that, graduates, brings me to an all too instructive historical coincidence. On this Friday, you'll be sitting together, students of a great university, enacting your ritual, illuminated by stage light. At the very same moment, 91 years ago, a group of students in another part of the world enacted their own ritual. It was lit by flames. On May 10th, 1933, across cities and towns of Germany, student groups from 34 universities led the most famous book burning in world history. In Munich, the leader was a law student. In every town, there were speeches and bands and audiences, a ritual. 40,000 people in Berlin, they took fire oaths, pledging allegiance to the culture they embraced, to rigid adherence, not individual freedom, to enemies, not community. Their ritual, their values. And over the next few years, Nazi Germany built a legal system to ruthlessly enforce those values. And when that system was destroyed, it left behind an all too similar successor. The Soviet one that ruled countries like Czechoslovakia for decades. Václav Havel, a one-time dissident and then the first president of a free Czechoslovakia, often told the story of how just after assuming office, he was flying in his airplane and he looked down over his country and he saw that it was in ruins. He said that for years we'd been told everything was perfect, but we knew better. We knew that corruption was rampant. We knew that only the connected could economically prosper. We knew that we had been hollowed out. We just felt we couldn't do anything about it. So soon we began to ignore it, say nothing about it, try to forget it. And in that acquiescence, created by law, but internalized in people, those people became divorced from themselves and from each other. There was no I and there was no we. Just people, cogs in a machine. And when that machine disintegrated, all that was left were these buildings like this, empty husks, artifacts of that gray existence. These are the legal systems that shackle people, that separate them from each other, that inflict catastrophic costs in human souls and in the human spirit. And make no mistake about it, the people who endured them do not want to go back. During the past few years, I've had the great privilege to work with lawyers and judges in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia. Having established a democracy a generation ago, my friends in that country fight fiercely to make sure that it doesn't slide backwards, backsliding. They desperately want to continue on a new path. And they look to us, they really do, for inspiration. Because here, from Aristotle, you can draw a more or less straight line through Locke to Montesquieu to the Declaration of Independence and to the first words of our Constitution, we the people. Personal liberty within a community. I and we, and a system to preserve both. And here's the thing. The lessons of the last century are sadly only a few of too many like them. Because over the arc of our humanity, from the earliest times on this planet, it has taken centuries of struggle and servitude and sensibility and savagery to make this idea live when it does live in the world today. And here it does. You name the item in the news, the border crisis, guns, children and social media, restrictions on abortion, and on it goes. Each issue involves a cry for a legal response and then conversation after conversation with our friends and families about what can and should be done. Because we share that basic faith. We do want to live freely together. And when that idea is imperiled, we want to work it out through law, not lawlessness. That's us. A teeming, surging, passionate people coming to the law and declaring to one another, please restrain the powerful, let me be able to think and to speak and to make the most of myself, and please help us to lift each other up so we can treat each other like the neighbors we are. So yes, constitutional law protects liberties until others are harmed. Torts and criminal law, so people can act as they wish until others are harmed together. Contracts and corporations, so people can pursue their business dreams but engage in commerce together. And on it goes. And you in this room know better than anybody that our system can be frustrating and complicated because people are. Interests can conflict, resolution slow, progress halting. It often seems intolerable, but it is indispensable. And all the things that every one of you are about to do, litigating cases, developing business organizations or structures, stopping overregulation, you're building that framework day by day. And in making those things happen, you are creatively making sense of the world. You are connecting the dots for your client and the legal system. You are, in fact, writing the most important story in human history. How people can be both free and joined. You're not a robot. You're a writer. This is worthy work. This is what you are about to do. And that makes you crucial. So, that's who we are. Now, what challenges do we face? Well, first off, don't expect a big old pat on the back for all of your work. Honestly, if lawyers are not being viewed as robots, we're just the butt of lawyer jokes. Ever heard any of those? 309 kinds of lawyer jokes, according to an actual study of the genre of lawyer jokes. Now, I care about you. I want you to be able to respond. These jokers don't appreciate everything we do for society, but I do. I know that they can't handle the truth of what we do. They can't handle the truth. That's right. The next time somebody hits you up with a lawyer joke, a little tip here from JD, the JD. You just channel Colonel Jessup here. You tell him, Deep down in places you don't want to talk about at parties, you want us in the law. You need us in the law. We use words like parole evidence, adverse possession, clerkship. We use those words as part of a life spent lawyering. You use them as a punchline. I'd rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, I hope you pick up an outline and take an exam. Either way, I don't give a damn how many lawyers it takes to change a light bulb. Now, the truth is, these days, I don't hear a lot of lawyer jokes from people. Actually, I don't hear much from people at all. Okay, but I am really concerned about how you're going to feel. Not other people, but how you're going to feel about what you're about to do, because you're crucial. And because I do want you to be happy, but also, secondly, because I want our legal system and our legal culture to be healthy. I'm going to start with that. These days, it is no news to anyone in this room. It is facing serious challenges. We hear attacks from the loudest of public leaders about the basics of the rule of law. Attacks on courts and judges, attacks on the peaceful transfer of power, attacks on the checks and balances that make power accountable. More than half of Americans believe, more than half, that we are on a path to legal breakdown and civil war. As one legal commentator recently noted, there is something of ill omen amongst us. This is poison in the blood of law. This is cancer in the bones of democracy. Some question whether or not the rule of law matters, others whether or not it is resilient enough. And that brings me back to you, because you are now about to shape this legal system and be the face of it. You're going to be the one now, in courtrooms, in boardrooms, in living rooms. You're going to be the face of the law, representing the role of law and the rule of law. And if you don't believe, if you do not believe in what you are doing, how is anyone else going to believe in the system? So let's face a harsh reality as you're about to go out. As individual lawyers, we are often searching for ourselves. Late nights, lots of documents, billable hours, tough clients. And they lead to the times when, yes, as lawyers, we look up and we do see the diploma. And we struggle to reconcile our worthy ambitions with a grind that we have come to know. Isolated and uncertain what's next. Now, I was a happy practitioner of law for about 11 years, but I do know these moments. It happened, and it strikes me now, as I look back, as a real paradox, because think about it for a minute. If the law enables people to be free, then why do we as lawyers often feel trapped? If the law is there to build community, how is it that we feel isolated from other people? If the law is there to connect the dots, to make sense of things, how can it be that we often lack a clear direction for our own lives? It's more than paradoxical, it is potentially troubling. To resolve these dilemmas, I'd like to share the example of two pioneers in the law who I think show next what we can actually do, a way that we can flourish in the law as individuals and strengthen it along the way too. Next week is going to be the 70th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education. The case was argued by the lead NAACP counsel, Thurgood Marshall. What led Marshall to that moment, what made him a civil rights champion, was a fusion of personal conviction and connection. Personal conviction and connection with the world around him. No stranger to racial segregation, Marshall still believed in his heart that progress in America was possible. You see, as a young man, Thurgood Marshall had attended Frederick Douglass High School in Baltimore, Maryland. No doubt there he learned how in his public career, Douglass early on had called the Constitution a wicked compact. But he kept coming back to it. in his speeches and in his writings, and how on the eve of that Civil War, he came to extol the virtues of the very same Constitution, of the American experiment itself. And so Marshall came to believe, as Douglas had, that progress in America was possible. He believed that. But Marshall also lived a life of experience and experiences, which reinforced for him how necessary that progress was and how to actually achieve it. Like his bracing trip through the South as a young lawyer when he actually saw broken down African American schools for the first time. Floors rotting, most without heater toilets, let alone teaching supplies or blackboards. Marshall drove thousands of miles every year, going into a string of southern towns and meeting lawyers along the way, and listening to people as he did. The point is that all of those experiences forged in Marshall an even deeper understanding of the nature of the problem, and also enabled him to build the relationships with other lawyers to attack that problem. Thurgood Marshall had an openness, and also he knew what his life was about. One fellow lawyer described him this way: his was the eye of a lawyer who saw the deepest wounds in the social fabric and used the law to help heal them. And the attorney who paid that compliment to him was the other pioneer today, Sandra Day O'Connor, who we lost this past year. Justice O'Connor, the first woman on the Supreme Court, often remarked how much she learned from her friend, Thurgood Marshall, the first African American on the court. But then Sandra Day O'Connor learned everywhere, all the time. She was a conservative from Arizona, and so to be sure, she had a firm sense of her own political beliefs and also self-belief. You don't survive insane job rejections based on gender without that strong sense of self. But crucially, her life, like Marshall's, was also a life of engagement with the world. Before she had spent her time on the bench, she'd served as a state legislator, writing laws that affected lives every single day, meeting with groups and really listening to the people she came into contact with. She tried to connect with them in all their complexities. Now you put it all together, and it was this capacity for common ground that made her, in the words of one of her colleagues, the social glue within that court. It also made her, time and again, the voice of the court. She knew how to compromise, and she orchestrated compromise, because the law, to Sandra Day O'Connor, was about real people, not sterile ideology. Her lifelong encounters had yielded in her a wisdom, or as she once modestly said, a little common sense never hurt. Now, you may be thinking, well, great, I'll just be Thurgood Marshall or Sandra Day O'Connor. And I say, yeah, exactly. Because they both showed the same two personal qualities that have made so many people who are lawyers into business leaders. They believe deeply in something. They have a sense of mission, but they also are connected to the rest of the world. Personal passion and an openness to the people around them. They're the same two qualities that my friends who still love their jobs in law firms a quarter century after starting have, or those who are in public service. They believe deeply in what they do and also serving those who are counting on them. What these folks do is connect all the dots, not just appellate opinions or pinpoint sites, but their own beliefs and the strivings and anxieties of others. When they do, they write meaningful stories for themselves and are part of even larger ones. As we go forward, you see, thinking like a lawyer isn't what gets us into trouble. To be happy and to do our work as well as we can, we simply have to conceive that term in a much broader, in a much deeper way, and act on that conception. Not just enable personal freedom, but be fully self-expressed. Not just create social structure, but be engaged with the world around us. We have to be independent and interdependent. And you are already on your way. How do I know that? Because of what you did here. You came here and you were free. You came to chase your own dreams. You made many independent choices. And hey, it started with a basic one. Transactional lawyer or litigator. Now mark my words, the chasm between these two is enormous. It starts here, but it lasts forever. Though I was a litigator, I think I could be pretty even-handed about the differences out there. Transactional lawyers have closing dinners. Litigators have closing arguments. Here's another one. A transactional lawyer sees a business as it is and asks why. A litigator sees a business as it is and asks why not? Punitive damages. You chose. You came here and you chose. You chose from 51 different clubs. You chose from 300 course listings. You chose from 20 different clinics across 12 different centers. You chose for yourself to fulfill a vision of yourself. And sometimes you had to juggle for yourself. But you chose for yourself to write your own story. And at the same time, you were writing a much larger one together. And you were before you'd ever met. I want you right now to think about the day during COVID when you decided to say yes to Northwestern. You can bet on that very same day, someone else in this room was too. Maybe at the exact same moment. And then you came here and you became a part of the Northwestern law community. And you surpassed your forebears. Take the class of 1883, for instance. A member of that class, 141 years ago, recalled that he and his peers wanted just to put in the required time without showing dense ignorance. Whoa, you're brilliant. But see, you would have exceeded all expectations just by being totally mediocre. By the way, that's a really good lesson for the bar exam. On the bar this summer, remember this, the goal is not to flourish prominently, but to finish passably. For once in your life, shoot for the middle, you overachieving maniacs. So yes, there has been much progress, but there are also immutable truths that we can celebrate here. In both 2024 and 1924, first-year courses included torts, property, and contracts. In both 2024 and 1924, school wasn't free. Sure, in 1924, tuition was $225 per year, and this year, it wasn't. But the point is that when you arrived, you became a part of a community that had long existed, and then you built on it, making it your own together. When coming out of the pandemic, was there anything that we wanted more and craved more than a sense of community? Together, you lived in Chicago. You've learned that here boots are mandatory, but spring is optional. You've seen this city choose a new mayor, a new police commissioner, a new quarterback. Caleb Williams, anyone? Okay, but more importantly, much more importantly, through your clinical work based in this city, you've served your fellow citizens here and around the world. Here, together, you have helped entrepreneurs and families and children, and you have righted the wrongs of injustice. And together, you coexisted day by day right in these halls. You learned here together the valuable lesson of both speaking out and listening up. Many of you in this room today voiced powerful opinions while you were here. But you also, if even for a moment, gave others the benefit of the doubt. Asked them why they felt a certain way. It wasn't seamless. It never is. But what you showed was that for us to occupy the same space, we have to share the same spirit. And it was your other shared experiences that allowed you to do that. Together, you endured cold calling and welcomed a new dean. You studied together and impersonated your professors together. You binged Ted Lasso and drank at Timmy's together. You were boosted and booted together. You watched Barbie and the Bear together and traveled to Serbia and Ireland together. Some of you were struck by lightning and found the romance of a lifetime. Others were struck by lust and found something pretty good for one night together. You arrived together, you rose and you fell together, and you rose again together, and on Friday, you will leave together. And I can only tell you now, 30 years out of law school, it's the relationships that endure. And so I trust it really will be for you. Because you know the truth. We're better together. And building a community isn't just about legal systems. It's about immersing yourself in a city, serving people as you do. It's about sharing self-doubt with someone dear and listening to theirs. It's about laughter and friendship. It's about mourning a friend. And it's about knowing deep down that being your own person while being connected to those around you is the richest human experience you can have, and that you just lived it. So what I am saying is this: there's nothing I can give you that you don't already have. Follow the example that you set for yourselves here. Don't let lawyering get in the way of living. Write your story of fierce independence and connection to those around you. Own your career and live life. Let's start with own your career. There will be times going forward when you are going to want to be free, fully self-expressed by reinventing yourself. And that's not just because the market is going to demand it. It's because you will demand it. Because I know your ambition. And I think that is just right. But what it means is that as busy as things get, from time to time, take the time to figure out what it is that you want. Now, I don't think there's one perfect way to do this. I'll share with you one point in my career where I did this in just the only way that I knew how at the time. I was about 5 years into my career. I had just finished a large case. It had settled right on the eve of trial. It had been an exhausting process working up to it. And I felt like I needed to re-examine where I was and what I was doing and what the road forward looked like. So I took a couple of days off of work after the case was finished. And I just went into the park. I took a notebook with me and I just started to write. And I just kept writing and writing and writing over 2 days as fast as I could. And at the end of it, I had 2 pieces of paper. Now, one of them was a goal, just a 1-sentence goal. And on the other was a list of people. Just people I thought would be good to contact. Maybe I would be fortunate enough to have them mentor me. Now, I can't say that all of that worked out perfectly, that every one of those contacts was great, or that everything happened the way that I thought it would. But I will tell you this: if I had not done that day, I don't think I would be teaching. And that means I would not have had the opportunity to be with you. And so I have to say, I think it worked out great. And there's going to be a million different ways you can do this, but try to do it. Try to find out what it is that you really want in those moments when you don't feel quite right. And here's the thing, it is going to get messy. That's bad. That's really bad. Somebody snuck that in there. I didn't do that. It's going to get messy, but it's not going to be easy. But it's going to be worth it as long as you're digging, you find the answers that are right for you, not somebody else. Your own definition of success. I think one of the hardest things in the world is to fight the impulse for easy answers when easy means success on somebody else's terms, their definition of success. It's easy to careen from big-sounding title to big-sounding title in life, because when the world asks, hey, what are you doing next, which it always does, right? We can just brandish those credentials. We can just flash the title. But if that's what we do, then what we have to realize is the entire time we thought we were making a choice, somebody else was really making it for us. And then we're really letting our desire to shine within a community yield a dull sheen called conformity. And the strange twist is that we stand tallest in any village when people know what we stand for. You have been making bold choices for yourself. Be your own person. Keep doing it. You're going to need that instinct more than ever once you get out there in the world. And that may lead you to a career that you haven't even thought of yet. It may lead you to leaving the law. And I'm here to tell you that's good too. The people who love you most once told you that you could be anything you wanted to be. Many of them are sitting next to you today, and you both believed it. The fact that you're a lawyer with all the doors that opens makes that even more possible for you. So in connecting your dots, they're getting closer. You see that? Don't be afraid to chart your own course. Because I want to tell you, this looks great. But so does this, if you think it does. And finally, you may get knocked down from time to time. But, if you get confused along the way, that's my email. Seriously, just email me, we'll get on the phone, and we'll talk about it. We'll figure something out. Now, you may get knocked down from time to time, but you will get back on your feet. And it's going to be easier to do that if you live life, if you're joined to other people. And that starts with each other. You've built something amazing together. Let it sustain you as you move forward. But even beyond each other, meeting and knowing even more people will open doors, but most importantly, it's going to make you a wiser counselor when the time comes to actually represent people. And beyond those steps, graduates, stay connected to the world around you. Live life in other ways. If you've ever at any point in law school said, I hate all this theory, act on that idea. Immerse with the world. Engage with it. Read. Travel. Write. Meet other people. Volunteer for pro bono projects. Pick an activity that you like. Talk to your friends. Answer their texts. I'm the worst person to say that in this room, but do it. And yes, maybe even start a family. And find a love you never knew before. I recommend that. And some of my family members are actually here today. My wife is here, Emily. That's my mom right there. That's one of my sons, Luca. There he is in those pictures. The other one said, I don't really think I can sit that entire time. And I said, brother, you're not going to be the only one. So, all right, now, in all these ways, what you're going to be doing is owning a career and living life. And you, at that time, are going to be making yourself the lawyer who is the connector of dots, who's free and joined, who makes the law for other people responsive and real, and you'll reinforce it day after day. And you'll have prepared yourself to go just one step further, if you're willing, to fight for the law. Fight for this project. I know it's a lot to put on you. You're just starting out. But as you're leaving, I want you to remember what Judge Learned Hand once said last century. Liberty lies in the hearts of men and women. When it dies there, no constitution, no law, no court can save it. No constitution, no law, no court can even do much to help it. In the battle to keep the rule of law alive today, we need you. We need your voice. You have lived freely. You have built community. You're about to be a lawyer. You are crucial. So I am asking you today, to keep liberty alive in your hearts. I am asking you, as you leave, to embrace the challenges of our law, the difficulties of provocative opinions, the thorniness of conflicting priorities, the sound of raised voices, the feeling of frustrating but beneficial compromise, knowing that the alternative is rigid orthodoxy, the silencing of enemies, and political violence. I am asking you to resolve, as you rightly measure the realities of our time against our most bedrock commitments: more freedom, more justice, more equality, to keep standing on that sturdy bedrock as the greatest before us has, to doubt the moment, but not the mission. I am asking you, to the people who trust you most, the people who love you most, to the people who now will see you not simply as daughter or son, or as sister or brother, but as an embodiment of the law. I am asking you to be a fierce ambassador to them for the law, to keep it alive in their hearts as it lives within yours. And I promise to do the same. Because unlike Wigmore a century ago, the challenges we face, the questions of our time, are not a world away. And yes, we're lawyers. And lawyers take the questions where they find them. And the questions are here. And so I am asking you, if not you, who? If not we? You see? I have enjoyed being here with you today to share what I think are a few truths, but I confess now that I also engaged in one small deception. A few moments ago, I quoted a recent legal commentator speaking of the ill omens among us. The commentator was actually Abraham Lincoln. And the year was 1837. The country was beginning to split apart. Like most of you are now about to be, Lincoln was then a private attorney. But he felt a responsibility to speak out. And in the years ahead, his concerns continued, as did his vigilance. Right outside this room, dedicated to Lincoln, is the text of the Gettysburg Address that he wrote in 1863 to commemorate the dead. A ritual as old as humanity. The Gettysburg Address is the work of a lawyer, one who had deeply analyzed and made constitutional arguments about union, about executive power, and about slavery, but also one who in the quarter century since those earlier remarks had lived so much life. He had read the classics on his own. He had served as a railroad lawyer. He had risen and fallen as a congressman. He had split rails. He had lived on the land. He had lost his race for the U.S. Senate. He had befriended people of all walks of life. He had endured depression and family tragedy. He'd been written off as a has-been and celebrated as a victor. And he had labored hard over America's promise, over its identity. At the moment that Lincoln arrived at Gettysburg, a war that was expected to last weeks had gone on for nearly 3 years. 750,000 people died during the Civil War. 30,000 had perished at Gettysburg alone. And they were taking bids for the contract to remove the remains. The winning bid was $1.59 per corpse. What sense could be made of this carnage? What order could be brought to it? What did it say about us? And Lincoln rose to speak. And when he was done, he'd made it whole. The Battle of Gettysburg and the Civil War meant what he said. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and America meant what he said: a nation of laws. A government of, by, and for the people. and our last best chance on earth. And he did it in 272 words and in under 3 minutes. If only I had been so brief. It's been said by the historian Gary Wills that everything in Lincoln's life had prepared him for that moment, prepared him to speak with perfect clarity, knowing that he believed and what was at stake for his fellow citizens and generations to come, prepared him to bring order from chaos, to connect the dots, and to write the story of that community of individuals and the greatest experiment in human civilization, America. And to leave us that text, the greatest artifact of all, the Gettysburg Address. Now, none of us is Lincoln, but we will face our moments. Who knows when your moment will come? But I am sure it will come. Who knows what destiny you will meet? But I am sure you will meet it. And when you do, best to do it as the lawyer you train to be, both inside and outside of these halls. The lawyer who thinks like a lawyer, but in the fullest of ways. For that, both now and into the future, is what your graduation ceremony is about. It is a ritual marking your place in an eternal struggle. That is what your diploma can mean. It's not a parchment. It's a promise. It's not a memory. It's a mirror of who you and we are. That diploma is an artifact, like the empty husks and cave drawings of humanity past, but of this time and this place, revealing a people who fervently believed that they could be both free and united, and of a person, you, who worked to make it possible for others, and by the example of your own life, showed how it could be so. Soon you depart, and your next story is waiting. Know that you're ready, and how grateful we are to know you, and that we'll be here, cheering you on ever and always. Own your career. Live life. Fight for the project, because you are crucial. Once upon a time, you graduated law school. The rest of that story is yours to write. Thank you so much for letting me come. Go get some drinks.